Welcome on Texas football. Time for Talkin' Ball. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton, who's on the road today. He's headed to a Waxahachie practice later this afternoon. See Texas recruit Cohen Brown, as well as a big-time defensive back there, Jaquan Snell. This episode brought to you by our friend Dr. Brett Robin at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. Jerry, the thing that I want to talk about and start with today is the news coming out of Oklahoma that happened over the weekend, and that is Brent Venables saying essentially he does not expect John Mateer to go. He's under that assumption. That means we're likely to see Michael Hawkins. So when Texas players and coaches were asked about that today at the press conference availability for the Longhorns, they said, hey, look, we don't need to prepare for the player. We need to prepare for the Ben Arbuckle Oklahoma offensive scheme. But as you and I know, Michael Hawkins and John Mateer are vastly different prospects in different stages of their development.
Yeah.
What do you make of this quarterback conundrum, so to speak? And what do you think that changes, if anything, about how Texas defends OU?
Yeah, I think that's one. I'm not sure 100% agree with that, but I get this coach speak, player speak part of it.
Yeah,
but there's a difference maker and a guy that hasn't proven to be a difference maker. So let's just put that out there.
right.
But look, we talked about this before last week. I mean, you got to stop the run, and Oklahoma hasn't run the ball on anybody with their running backs. I mean, Blaylock has 200. The freshman from Itasca has 260 yards, but that still doesn't mean they've the ball on good people, right? I mean, so stopping the run game. Mateer was the leading rusher when he went down, by the way, of this team. And then Torrey Blaylock last week then had a big game. I believe he had 78 yards against Kent State, so he became the leading rusher on the team. And he is in the 3 games, the 2 games against Power 4 opponents, Michigan and Auburn. Blaylock has 20 carries for 37 yards as the leading running back in those games for Oklahoma. So you always have to stop the run. Oklahoma hasn't ran the ball on anybody from the running back position, and that has to remain the same Saturday, first and foremost. I mean, if Oklahoma starts getting going on the ground with their running backs, that's not good for Texas because they haven't done that against anybody this year. I mean, they don't have Jaden Ball back there. So Blaylock is a speed back. So you got to keep him from getting to the perimeter. But as far as the rest of the offense goes, look, I mean, you don't replace difference maker players like that. So Michael Hawkins he's a threat as a runner more than he is as a consistent passer. Although I will say this, I think he's a better fit in Arbuckle's scheme, and he's a year older than he was last year. So that helps him. In Oklahoma has Isaiah Satanga and Deion Burks, who are healthy at wide receiver, and the tight end. So they're more healthy than they were a year ago, because last year I think their top 4 or 5 receivers were all out for that game. So they're more healthy on the offensive line. They have a healthier team in general. And we'll see if Jaden Ott, where his health is. But again, it starts with stopping the run Saturday for the Texas defense. If you can't stop the run against this team, who hasn't run it effectively on anybody from the running back position, you're probably not going to win the game.
You say that. I agree with you when you first said that that's kind of coach speak and player speak at a press conference. You absolutely approach this game differently if John Mateer is the quarterback versus Michael Hawkins. Yes. I mean, you may be more willing to throw more caution to the wind and rush more people at a Michael Hawkins than you do a John Mateer, who might be able to more likely burn you with a deep ball. I mean, do you not? I mean, I think that's just a talking point at this stage. I mean, you have to treat those 2 guys a little bit differently, even though they have the same system.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, it's not the same, but if Diego Pavia went down for Vanderbilt, you're not preparing the same way. I mean, it's just not reality. I mean, that's just not the way this game works. And I get what they're saying and the mental part of it. But no, look, if Texas chances go up in this game if John Mateer's not playing, bottom line. That tells you all you need to know, Bobby.
Yeah, Brent Venables usually has his weekly press conference on Tuesdays, so we'll know more about that development probably at that point. And if not, then we'll definitely know more on Wednesday when the first injury report is filed by both Texas and Oklahoma. Speaking of injuries, Trey Wisner met with the media earlier today. He said he's 100% healthy. There was an erroneous report that he had re-injured his hamstring. That's not to worry about. The one that we are waiting on kind of is Parker Livingston, who injured his ankle against Florida before returning to the game. I'm told that x-rays are negative, but whether or not he plays this week is a different story. Also waiting on the health of C.J. Baxter and Manny Muhammad. Steve Sarkisian reiterated today that he doesn't know if Manny Muhammad is going to be available on Saturday, Jerry. So some big injury updates there for the Longhorns. All right, before we go on to the next one, and we want to talk about the Oklahoma defense and some stats that are pretty astounding and potentially worrisome, I think is the best way to put it, Jerry, for the Texas Longhorns. We want to say thanks to our sponsor of this episode, of every episode of Talking Ball, and that is Dr. Brett Robin at the Austin Orthopedic Institute. He's sponsored On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages. Specializing in musculoskeletal health, Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic specialist, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000, and get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Again, former Longhorn football player, Dr. Brett Robin, now in Austin Orthopedic at Austin Orthopedic Institute. All right, Jerry, we thought Florida was a good defense going in, and they were a good defense. Got to be honest. We know OU is a good defense. Yeah. They are ranked number one in the country in total defense, allowing just 193 yards per game. And they played Auburn as well as Michigan. Neither of them great shakes on offense, but still high-level competition. For comparison, Texas ranks 13th in the country in total defense right now, giving up 260 yards per game. That's a full 70 yards better, basically, than the Longhorns. What do you think of this OU defense and what Texas is going to have to do?
Well, the interesting thing about this game for me is, if you're Oklahoma, you probably would have liked for Texas to play more physical and the offensive line to play a little better against Florida. Because now, if this offensive line and this team's ever going to be truly motivated, this is the game it's going to be. But here's the thing I'll say. Florida's got really good players, but their best guy, Caleb Banks, didn't even play in that game. I just want to remind people that first-round pick didn't play in that game. Jaden Jackson is going to be better than anybody Florida had on the field. And and the difference is, didn't they have pass rushers off the edge? I mean, Oklahoma has 21 sacks this year. They had 10 against Auburn. If they put up 10 against Auburn, Florida put up 6 on Texas. Oklahoma can put up 9 or 10 if the offensive line does not play well against Texas. There is no doubt about it, unless there's some major changes from last week. So the problem is 193 yards, the only team that's given up less than 200 yards per game on average. There's that. And they haven't really been fully healthy in the secondary this year. But again, the linebackers are good. Their front is really good. And they're going to attack the left guard just like Florida did, that position, those gaps right over there on the left side. Center guard over there on the left side. And Jaden Jackson's going to be a monster to deal with in this game. So Texas is obviously challenged. They will be challenged this week by Sarkisian and Flood and everybody. And we're going to see where the fight is in this game. But Oklahoma's better because they have pass rushers than remember, Florida only had 3 sacks on the season going in that game.
Yep.
They got 6. And that's the concerning thing is I don't think this flips around in 1 week. I just don't see this improving like this in 1 week. It's impossible.
Yeah. A couple other stats that are eye-opening. You mentioned the sack stat and the fact that they're number 1 overall. OU is also number 1 in third down defense in the country, allowing just 17.7% on third down completion. Meanwhile, Texas on offense is 115th. That seems to be weakness on strength at some level. Texas got to find a way to move the football in this game with some consistency, or it's just going to be 3 and out, 3 and out, and you're going to be asking the Longhorn defense to just do too much.
The one thing, and again, can this change in 1 week from 5 games into the season? The one thing you absolutely cannot do against this Oklahoma defense is pre-snap penalties and put yourself even further behind the chains. I think the average third down was 11 yards against Florida. If it's 11 yards against Oklahoma, you may go 1 of 11 on third downs. I mean, it's not out of the question. I mean, maybe it's 2 out of 11, but you aren't going 6 of 11 or 5 of 11 on third. And if your average average distance on third down is 10 or 11 yards, not happening. So the one thing that absolutely has to get cleaned up is pre-snap penalties. You cannot, against a great defense, we'll see if they're great, the leading defense in college football, you can't have the self-inflicteds in this game because it's already going to be hard to get 3rd and 4. If you turn into 3rd and 9, and then they can just pin their ears back, and Brent Venables is going to bring the heat. It's what he does. Then Arch Manning is not going to have. He's going to have a long day, and he better wear his rib pads.
Do you try? Let me ask you this: do you try to run at Oklahoma? I mean, Michigan did that and had marginal success at times. They broke one big run by Justice Haynes, but otherwise Oklahoma kept them in check. Is there a weakness in this Oklahoma defense or soft spot? I don't even know if weakness is the right word.
I do think not Gentry Williams maybe, but I think Texas can win at wide receiver. Like I think Texas has with the return of Emmett Mosley, I think he's a playmaker, man. I think if you can get him into his route and get the ball to him, he will make tough catches. He'll make contested catches. I think he's a good player. Obviously, DeAndre Moore, I think, is a really good player. So I do think Texas can win, but the way you win is to have enough time to get for the routes to develop. And it is what's going to be interesting is, does Sark go to a much more short game this week? Does he work on a lot of screens this week? But if you're Brent Venables, you're thinking, okay, after what they saw last week from their team, they're going to try to dink and dunk us this week. So you're going to be preparing for that. But Bobby, to your point, if you wake up, or if it's Saturday at 5:15 p.m., you look at the box score and Texas had 11 carries for 15 yards like last week from the running backs, it's not going to be a pretty game. They have to establish some sort of run this week. They have to.
They really do, and or at least a controlled attack of some level. It can't just be let's go for the throat every single time. They went deep so often against Florida. If they do the same thing here, it's setting up the whole team for trouble, in my opinion. Granted, I agree with you. I think that OU has a better pass rush than Florida. We'll see what else we see. One thing, OU's offensive line, in your opinion, not as good as Florida's, step down a little bit. What is their strength and weakness?
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to tell for me what their strength and weakness is because John Mateer masked deficiencies and bailed them out. And they've only had one game without him, and it's Kent State. And that was going to be vanilla because they've been preparing for Texas for 2 weeks. Let's be real. That was like an off week. That was an off week in Norman last week. Kent State's not a good football team. But look, I think run blocking against big athletes is not their strength. That's obvious. And after last week, those guys should be motivated on the defensive front too. And if Texas can't win some one-on-ones against Oklahoma and be disruptive, then again, you're just gonna have to scratch your head because that's an area I do think Texas can win. And I'll say this: I think Colin Simmons had his moment Saturday, right? He had his moment.
Oh, yeah.
But if there's ever going to be a breakout game for him this year, this is going to be the one because I think he can win on the edges against the Oklahoma tackles. So I think Texas has an advantage with him going into this game. I'll also be interested to see what Texas does defensively. Do we get more of Trey Moore at the edge? I mean, I kind of wonder. Everybody's talking about reshuffling of the offensive line, but Texas has to find a way to generate rush with their 4 because they did last year and they aren't this year, and they're not as disruptive with their 4, and so they're going to have to find a way to do that. Because the one thing you don't want to do, I think, against Michael Hawkins, I don't think you want to put your defense in bad situations to where if there's not great lane integrity, because he'll bust through and he can make some plays with his feet. The one thing you don't want to do is have poor lane integrity against Oklahoma, because the quarterback run game will be there with Michael Hawkins. So I'm just interested to see how Texas does, how they generate pass rush this week. But it starts with pushing the pocket. If you can't push the pocket, I mean, DJ Lagway went from being on the run for his life against Miami to having clean pockets too much against Texas. And
Yes.
that's got to change Saturday. I mean, so look, when you get physically whipped like Texas did in the swamp, that's the first thing that has to change. And that's really what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they'll match up a little bit better against OU's offensive line.
I agree.
But they're also going to be they're going to have, whether it's Mateer or Michael Hawkins, OU's going to have a mobile quarterback, much more mobile than DJ Lagway was.
It's not going to be talked about much leading up to this week, but tackling Deion Burks and Satanga in space is going to be big in this game. You have to limit explosives after the catch with their wide receivers. You have to get those guys to the ground. You have to be sound in tackling against those guys, because those guys have quickness and speed, and they can turn 5 into 15 or 17. You have to be sound in your tackling in space this week against Deion Burks and Satanga. It probably won't be talked about a lot, but I think it's going to be important in this game for slowing down the Oklahoma offense.
Texas got to try to turn Oklahoma over too and create some short fields themselves. We spent a lot of time talking about OU's defensive prowess. The Texas defense needs to do the same as well. I want to say thanks one last time here to our sponsor again. That's Dr. Brett Robin with convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen. Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. The former Texas running back is a top-notch orthopedic. Give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. Get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love with Dr. Brett Robin. All right, Jerry, we got more coming. You're off to Waxahachie to watch Cohen Brown. You guys, we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning on Coffee and Football. For Jerry Hamilton and our producer, Matt Hutchison, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good day. Welcome.